Hey friends, it's Kat. Okay, this is a little, I don't know, different, but not really, but kind of is. And I think I might start posting lessons from the University of Success by Mandino. I don't know if you guys heard of this book or not. You know how I did it with the artist way? I was kind of thinking maybe like that, but I'm not sure yet. However, I just really felt called to come on here and share this because I just had a mind-blowing realization. Like, ah! So much so that I'm gonna come onto YouTube looking like in my comfiness, my comfy to curl up on the couch, read a book kind of day. But I really felt like I needed to share. So, full disclosure, I actually started reading this book back in 2014. I know, right? I got halfway through it, and I never finished it. I made notes, I underlined things, because, that's what you're supposed to do. He actually tells you to do that in this book, but I never got back to it. So I'm really excited to see how much I've changed since then. And honestly, I already noticed how much I changed by the time I got to page 2. It's a true story. So anyway, picture this. Like I'm sitting on the couch. I got Sir Isaac Newton here sitting with me. We're cuddled up. We got a cup of tea. And I'm reading this giant, massive book. You see that? Like really, right? Like seriously, you could do arm workouts with it. And I'm only on page 5. There's page 5. Do you see that? Yep. I'm only on page 5 when something just stopped me cold. Like seriously. Right there is what stopped me at the end of page 5. So basically the book starts off like it has lessons, and so on lesson 1. And lesson 1 is about a character named X. And it sounds like he might have been in a plane crash. He just kind of flew in somewhere. He's stranded, completely unfamiliar. It sounds like he's trapped in a cave. He can't move. He can't speak. He's alive, a little disoriented, but he feels safe. He's okay. And then all of a sudden, he feels like he's pulled out of the darkness. He's surrounded by bright lights and people he doesn't understand. It's really loud. It's cold. And his body's shaking, and he wants to go back into the cave. And then he starts to notice that these native people are around him. And there's particular ones that kind of help him if he needs something. He noticed that if he cries, they might come. He doesn't speak their language. He doesn't know what they want. And he's completely dependent on their reactions to survive. He's helpless. His safety, his very life, actually depends on whether or not they like him, whether they accept him. Okay, so they're just kind of explaining that in this book, right? And then one small moment happens. So simple. He notices one of the women smiling at him. So he smiles back. He copies what she does. And that excited her so much, and she went and got other of the people, and, he starts smiling because they all like that. And so that tiny human exchange becomes his whole anchor. He's like, okay. And so it gives him relief. It gives him safety. And of course, that sense of acceptance. And so he starts watching this one woman closely, mirroring her reactions, trying to do what pleases her, what earns her approval, what keeps him connected to her, keeps her keep coming back to him to help him with his needs. And then comes this line. It's such a simple one that literally hit me like without realizing it. He came to use her as a mirror to reflect back what sort of person he was. Wait, what? Right? And I just sat there because, oh my goodness, that's it. That right there is the blueprint of how shame-based identity forms. Babies' survival is dependent on whether people like them. I have always said, in fact, I just said it last week, Shame-based identity is one of the hardest burdens a person can carry. It's not a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's like wiring. It's legit. It's what happens when at your core you start to believe you're unworthy and unlovable. That belief becomes a lens that colors everything. Your relationships, your self-talk, even your capacity for joy, your ability to dream, to achieve, to set goals. And it starts just like this story did. When your sense of safety, your sense of self, becomes dependent on the reflections of others. That's where you go, dun, dun, dun. Huh? Right? So every baby, every child learns who they are through the eyes that sees them. When those eyes reflect warmth, consistency, and delight, the brain then, like wires, it encodes, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm good. But when the reflection is unpredictable, critical, absent, your nervous system encodes something else. Remember your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system with your autonomic nervous system? Yeah. Love is conditional. I have to perform to be accepted. I have to be liked to belong. That's where the shame-based identity begins. Not because anyone meant harm. No. You only know what you know. But because that's how the developing brain survives uncertainty. The amygdala pairs disconnection with danger. Right? And the right hemisphere? The right hemisphere learns to read others' emotions before it learns to read its own. We need people to label those emotions. We require co-regulation to learn how to regulate. It is like survival, pure and simple. But it's also what keeps so many adults living by the same script. Who do I have to be to stay loved? Can't let anyone know the real me. They'll never love me. That was mine. Anyway, the good news, because there's always good news. The good news is we can rewrite that story, that script. 100%. Empathy, self-awareness, and literally reparenting ourselves to retrain and realign those neural pathways. And here's the thing about empathy, which I always thought was really fascinating, but it's true. Empathy is learned. Seriously. We aren't born knowing how to empathize. We learn it through experience. When someone meets us with understanding instead of judgment, our nervous system will literally link vulnerability with safety. That pattern gets stored in the brain's relational wiring. But the prefrontal cortex starts to stay online when emotions rise, instead of getting scared off by the barking dog with the amygdala, right? It's the moment the brain learns I can stay connected even when I feel messy or wrong. Yeah. So anyway, when we reparent ourselves, which I highly recommend, or when we show up with empathy for our own kids or even for others, we're literally building the neural architecture that keeps shame from taking root. So every I get it moment, every I'm right here with you, teaches the brain that mistakes are part of being human, not proof of being unworthy or unlovable. And that's the work, my friends. Healing ourselves, raising kids who won't have to do quite as much unlearning as we had to. Right? So yeah, maybe I'll keep reading this book and sharing my, oh my goodness, moments along the way. I haven't decided yet. Because honestly, this one was so huge for me that without realizing it, he came to use her as a mirror to reflect back what sort of person he was. Right? And I'm just going to leave it there. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for doing this kind of inner work with me, along for yourselves, others. It's not easy, but it's real. And I think that's where the magic happens. So if you made it this far, wow, we're already 11 minutes. Make sure you hit subscribe. Have a great day or good sleeps. Got this.